Caleb Williams and the other NFL rookies get great words of advice from Tom Brady, amongst others. We'll talk a little bit about that and how Caleb Williams continues to impress with his leadership and by doing it by example rather than being vocal at this point in time. We're also going to talk about Khalil Herbert's future with the team. Does he have a long-term future even with the Chicago Bears? And then lastly, we're going to look at some of the breakout players that could happen here at OTAs. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize. More importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it for today, man. And I want to start off with this. So Caleb Williams and a lot of other NFL rookies were at this meeting with it was Tom Brady, Jay-Z there, amongst others, who gave some great words of advice to the young players coming into this league. And this is we'll play the clip here in a second, but while right now you can get all the advice in the world, it's how you apply the advice or how well you take the advice into consideration. Considering what we've heard so far about Caleb Williams, the fact that he is somebody who is a student of the game, I, for one, do hope that he really does take this to heart. And Tom Brady said this here.
When you have 53 guys on the team and you think it's about you, it ain't about you, it's about us. And the biggest problem I see with a lot of the young players today, you guys are making it too much about I and me because of social media, because of branding and all that. It's fine, you're not gonna win. There was a difference between being a star and being a champion.
Your talent gets you there. You know, your work ethic and your discipline takes you to where you want to be.
Every day of practice is important. You know why? Because when I was on the Patriots and we had 20 years winning, every day was a big day. I treated a preseason game, I treated a regular season like it was a Super Bowl. So when I got to the Super Bowl, it was just another day for me.
You got to know who you are because those moments going to come. You're going to be down 28-0. You got to say, all right, I know who I am. I'm going to go get it.
I'm unrelenting. Like, I will not quit in anything I do. And I never got there on, educational background. I never got there on skill. It was work ethic and hustle.
There should be nobody in your life that should have higher expectations for you than you.
You're going to evolve or you're not. You're going to keep evolving or you're not. And if you're not, the world still spins. If you're forever curious, you'll always keep getting better.
And, this is something that, as much as I hated the Patriots and Tom Brady for on the field, not off the field things, it's great, right? To hear him say things like, it's about the 53. It's not about just you, right? And that is something that we see with a lot more younger players, is that it's about them. And I think that that's going to be the thing that really, if anything, separates or puts you in a position to really win with this team that the Bears have. It is going to be becoming about it being the team overall. Even him saying that he prepared for every game like it was a Super Bowl, so that way when he got to the Super Bowl, it was just another game. It's crazy, first of all. But, it's really good words of advice. And you want as much words for advice as you can get for your rookie players. You just want that, right? And so, how much he applies it and things like that are a different story. But we're hearing really good things so far, right? We're hearing that Caleb Williams showing up to practice at 6 a.m. And he says that he's just there to sit, meet, ask tons of questions, things like that, right? Driving the questions that are asked by the team and those type of things. So it seems like he's trying to earn the respect of the players around him, which is something that we've always talked about was going to be hugely important for Caleb Williams is to earn the respect of the locker room through the example that's set, right? Through how he prepares, how he practices, things like that. And we're getting really good, basically anything that you could think of positive. Matt Eberflus even saying he kind of really polarizes the team and stuff like that. Like those are galvanizes, polarized. Which one's positive? I don't know. With that said, but it's really good to hear what we're hearing so far. But I will say this, right? Let me be clear here. You guys know I always try to shoot it straight and give you the real. I don't like to do all the raw type things, but it's like these are things that you want to hear right now, right? You don't want to hear if you're hearing bad things during OTAs, that's a really bad sign for your team overall. So you're going to hear positive things right now. That is mainly what you're going to hear is nothing but positive things, but that is what you should be hearing right now. I think it'd be a huge thing if you were hearing a lot of negative right now. That would be kind of more shocking than anything else. So, when it comes down to it, Matt Eberflus saying that the locker room right now is rallying around Caleb Williams, that's kind of what you want to hear. That's the place that you want to be in. And, there were some rumors around the locker room and how much the Bears players who really did love Justin Fields are going to, give Caleb a hard time or anything like that. Direct quote from Matt Eberflus said this. Once Romo got hurt when he went down in that preseason game out in Seattle, the team rallied around Prescott. And I feel that already in our building here. Everybody's rallying around him being Caleb Williams. You can feel that with the reps that we got with some of the first on-the-field stuff we've done with the veterans. You can see the offense, they're real supportive, and the same with the defensive guys. And his personality is infectious. He gets along with everybody. He's just very easy to insert in a locker room. And that's what you want to hear. But when it comes down to it, you can like. There's a lot of likable players who don't win shit. It got to come down to winning on the football field. And that goes back to kind of what Tom Brady and Jay-Z and things were saying. There are going to be times where you're down. How do you bet on yourself? How do you bet on your teammates? How does, as a roster, you rally around each other, right? So that's the thing that we need to see. That we really won't know for sure until the pads are on and we're starting to play games against other teams. But it's good to hear that as of right now, with where we are, the only things that we can take positive from it, seems like everybody is really enjoying their time getting to learn Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams is doing what he needs to do to earn that respect and to also just learn and to grasp everything that the things that we've heard so far is that Caleb wants to learn that playbook. He wants to have the playbook known like the back of his hand, and that goes a long way in quarterback, right? And just how you quarterback this team. And so, while we have a new offense that is going to go through its lumps and bumps and bruises and things to start the season, when you have a player like when you have your quarterback that has a ton of expectations, but is coming in there to want to prove and live up to those expectations and not just having kind of the mindset of I'm the new hot shit, right? And I'm not saying that I've heard anything like that about Caleb, but that is what you want to hear from this team. And let's hope that continues on top of things as well. But you guys can let me know, as always, what you guys think and feel on that down below. As far as the locker room, what we're hearing from OTAs so far, like I said, things should be really good from OTAs right now. You don't want to hear anything bad from OTAs, but I'm glad that things are at least looking in the right direction. Now, moving on to the next topic, Khalil Herbert is the next thing that I want to talk about. And what is his long-term future with the Chicago Bears? That was kind of put more into question this offseason when the Bears did assign DeAndre Swift to a long-term contract. And it really is because that when you look at Khalil Herbert and Swift, they have a lot of the same kind of flaws as far as like questions about going between the tackles, things like that. But the one thing that Swift has been better at consistently is being used in the passing game. And so when you lock in Swift to that type of contract, it of course brings about, Khalil Herbert, who's going into the last year of his rookie deal. What is his future with the Chicago Bears? And unfortunately, he's at a place right now where it may come down to more so the timing than anything else of when his deal is up, on top of already playing for a team where the front office has shown that they truly feel that they can get a running back at any point in time for the money that they can for decent money. So while Khalil Herbert is 26 years old, he's moving into that last year of his deal. He'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2025. There's not a whole hell of a lot of reason to believe that Khalil Herbert is going to get a long-term deal. Now, that could change via production this season. That could change if this offense is just rock and roll and the Bears go far. Maybe they don't want to break that up, right? But when you look at the 3 years so far in the NFL for Khalil Herbert, 433 yards his first year with 2 touchdowns, played all 17 games. His second year, 129 carries for 731 yards, 4 touchdowns in that time. That was the first year after David Montgomery left. Sorry, that still would have been his year with David Montgomery. Last year was the first year without David Montgomery, with 12 games played, 132 carries, and 611 yards. But we know he missed a lot of games due to injury there. And when he came back from injury, that's where you started kind of seeing he finished the season strong. Those last 2 games of the season, the offense overall really finished the season strong. His first 4 games after his return from injury, though, he had 31 carries for just 75 yards. And when it comes down to it, is that at a running back, and while running backs they did get more money than what we've seen in the last few years for running backs this past offseason, I think it just comes down to the reality of it is that with having DeAndre Swift here, maybe even with Roschon Johnson offering kind of a different skill set than what Khalil Herbert is, that still remains to be seen. We got to see Roschon Johnson really step it up a lot this season in his opportunities before we could fully say that. But it comes down to it. Yeah, Khalil Herbert can make some big plays. He's going to make some big plays this year as well, but the writing may be on the wall that Khalil Herbert just is not here long-term for the Chicago Bears much after this season. And so, especially when it comes down to, like, if you are looking for a payday, which we don't know how much Khalil Herbert's looking to get paid. We haven't heard anything like that. so far. But entering the last year of his deal, missing some big time with injury last season, having DeAndre Swift in here, having Roschon, who's better as a pass blocker, and we'll see how he's used with this offense with Shane Waldron as well. The writing could be on the wall that Khalil Herbert's time with the Chicago Bears are running up. Now, the question that then presents is, what do you do if that's the way that Ryan Poles knows that he's going with Khalil Herbert? If he looks at it, and like I said, I'm not going to say he has everything decided right now, right? He could have the mind of where he wants to go to, but you want to see how the season plays out. You want to see, hey, can DeAndre Swift stay healthy, right? And, there's some legitimate questions about, DeAndre Swift being behind the offensive line that he was behind and how much of that is going to transfer over with the Bears line. I'm not too worried about that, but there are some legitimate questions with that. And so do you then maybe look to move Khalil Herbert at this year's trade deadline? Listen, we've seen it before with Ryan Poles, with, players on the end of their deals that, that he's not going to re-sign or they can't agree to a number of things like that. And I do think that rather than let Khalil Herbert walk for nothing, if this offense goes the way where DeAndre Swift is just this monster, you're not really looking to re-sign Khalil Herbert at big money. You feel confident, and you end up feeling confident enough in Roschon Johnson, and even your ability to get another running back in next year's draft or in free agency. When you look at what we signed Deontay Foreman for example, it could raise a situation where you do look to move Khalil Herbert at the trade deadline. So I would say, between the start of the season and the trade deadline, it is something to look out for, to say, hey, how does Khalil Herbert perform? How well is he being utilized in this offense as well? How many touches? How many snaps is he getting? Because if those things start going down and we start seeing, like we saw Roschon Johnson get more and more, be out there more and more of the snaps towards the end of the year, if that continues to go that route, then I would not be surprised at all if Khalil Herbert is eventually moved at the trade deadline by the Chicago Bears, because you do want to maybe extract some of that equity out of that with getting something back rather than trading him for nothing. We're losing him for nothing in free agency. But let me know what you guys think. When you look at Khalil Herbert, when you look at the way that this Bears offense is shaped, set up this season, do you see Khalil Herbert having a big enough year to where the Bears do consider keeping him? Or do you think that the writing's on the wall that Khalil Herbert is probably his last year in the Chicago Bears uniform? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Now, before we go, I also want to talk about some players that could break out this year or really kind of stand out in OTAs. And the first one that I want to talk about is Austin Booker, right? We've already heard from Eric Washington that Austin Booker is going to have an opportunity to win the starting defensive end position. We know that the defensive end is a thin position for the Chicago Bears. They didn't address it in the way that some fans thought that they were. I still think that having DeMarcus Walker is going to be really good for the Bears there, right? I'm not too worried about that. I think with having Montez Sweat for a full season, if Javon Dexter develops like a lot of Bears fans hope, and the Bears hope that they would in the investment that they've made with not going out and getting other guys, that there is that opportunity for Austin Booker to win a starting role. Now, I think that DeMarcus Walker, like I was saying, would be fine there. But really, Austin Booker, in how he performs in OTA, how he performs in training camp, how he performs in practice, in the preseason, all those type of things, Austin Booker has a chance with his dynamic game, the growth that he's shaped up to have in his game as well, how raw of a talent he is, to earn a big role. I don't know if he earns a starting role right away. That may not be, it ends up till maybe towards the end of this middle of the season. It may not be till next season. But I do think that Austin Booker is a guy who the Bears are going to be looking at to see how he steps up in OTAs, in training camp, things like that. Be on the lookout for Austin Booker to really kind of show that development and show that promise that the Bears got with him in. They got him with the 5th round pick that they traded to get him. And when it comes down to it, like when you look at Booker last year in college, 56 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, and 8 sacks in Kansas last season. If the Bears need that firepower, right, for pass rush, and they're looking at that and saying Austin Booker presents the best chance and opportunity at that, I can see Austin Booker having a big role for the Chicago, even if it's not starting, right? Even as a rotational piece for the Chicago Bears, because he can play either in position, right, and be out there when Montez Sweat needs to take a break, when DeMarcus Walker needs to take a break, right? And he can easily pass up Dominique Robinson and things on the depth chart. Austin Booker is one of the names to watch to see how this training camp goes and how things develop for this Bears team, because I really think that they want him to succeed. Now, they're not going to try to throw too much on him, but one thing that we do know with the Matt Eberflus team, since he's been the head coach of this Bears team, is that it's not about draft position. It's not even about how tenured you've been. It's about how you perform. And everybody has an opportunity to earn a role based off performance. And Austin Booker, I would not be surprised if he not only is one of those under the radar, he ends up one of the under the radar pickups by the Chicago Bears that we look back in a year or so and say, hey, can you believe we got Austin Booker in the 5th round? But he has a chance to make an impact this season. I think really looking out for him to earn that spot in that rotation. And even if it is like I said, a depth piece early in the season, I think that Austin Booker has more than enough reason to believe that he has the potential to turn a lot of heads for the Chicago Bears this season. And he's a guy that I'm really looking at to see how they perform. Next up, though, is Tyler Scott, right? I think when you look at the wide receiver room, we know the 3 wide receivers and how they're going to perform. But Tyler Scott, with his speed, being able to be used in the slot, hopefully now running more slant routes as well, because we just didn't run slant routes under Luke Getsy. I think that Tyler Scott has an opportunity to be used in this offense and to show, hey, you got to throw me some passes too. And I think that with Shane Waldron, I'm not saying he's going to get a whole hell of a lot. We know the majority is going to go to Allen Moore and Rome Odunze. We understand that, especially when you have Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet at the tight end position, Swift catching balls out the backfield, Swift catching passes out the backfield as well. That Tyler Scott is going to have to make the most out of whatever opportunities that he gets. And he's going to get some of those opportunities in the preseason. You expect to see, our starters to sit a lot, right? You're not going to see a whole lot of Keenan Allen, I wouldn't think, in the preseason. I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't see a lot of DJ Moore. It's going to be an opportunity for Tyler Scott to earn to turn heads and earn a role on this team. And like I said, it's going to come down to him doing the most with the opportunities that are presented to him. But I think Tyler Scott, with the flashes that he's shown on top of the Bears, still pretty confident in Tyler Scott. It's going to come down to what does he show you, because it can go real quick. And I think, too, with the Bears, Ryan Poles already saying they won't really talk contract extensions with Keenan Allen until the end of the season. That may come down to as well to how much has Tyler Scott shown them as a slot receiver and how much they believe in his potential before they pay Keenan Allen big money in an offseason to maybe stay with the Chicago Bears. If they see enough for Rome Odunze where they think Rome and DJ Moore, with Tyler Scott at the outside, we feel pretty confident in that moving forward. And then you may not have to re-sign a player like Tyler Scott. So I think that that's an opportunity as well. And then outside of players that I think could really break out, but players that have to show something if they want to stay on this roster in training camp, it's going to be Velus Jones and Dominique Robinson. Velus, for one, he's not going to get a whole lot of opportunities as a wide receiver, meaning that he's going to have to be that guy on the special teams that shows, hey, it's enough I'm good enough with kick returning, pass returning, whatever it is, kick returning, punt returning, whatever it is, that I'm a weapon for you guys. Keep me on this team. And I think the new kickoff rules and things like that, there's enough reason to hope that Velus is going to have that opportunity and step up a lot. But then Dominique Robinson, they brought in Austin Booker here, and while the edge position isn't one where you have a whole lot of depth at to where maybe you're not looking to cut Dominique Robinson, I still do think that's a chance when you look at DeMarcus Walker, Khalid Kareem, Jacob Martin, Austin Booker, all there, as depth pieces for that defensive end position. There could be enough conversation around Dominique Robinson to not make this team. And so I think it's really going to come down to Dominique Robinson is going to have to show a lot as well in the training camp and kind of get back to what he showed in his rookie year. Dominique Robinson, I think people forget those first few games of his rookie season before he moved into a starting role really looked good as a depth piece. And since then, it hasn't really been a whole hell of a lot. But, maybe he can get back to that. He's still only 25 years old. Still a really strong player on top of that. But, if he can, show some things in this training camp and OTAs, maybe he can stick around. But I do think that there is a possibility that Dominique Robinson could be on the outs with the Chicago Bears as well. Depends on how some other things go. But let me know what you guys think on all those topics down below, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has has been a presentation of the Break Media.